We know there'll be some more that comes in, but we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here for Service Beyond the Uniform. My name is 𝗨𝗶𝗶𝗄, and I have the honor of being a team member here at 𝗨𝗲𝗄 Enterprises, and one of the areas that I get to support is our 𝗨𝗲𝗄 Foundation. Today is about leadership, purpose, and giving back, and what happens when service doesn't end, but evolves. We're honored to host this conversation through the 𝗨𝗲𝗄 Foundation because our mission is rooted in bridging people to make an impact, removing obstacles so good work can thrive, and connecting our community to meaningful ways to serve. You'll hear from this amazing panel of individuals who will share their lived experiences that has shaped their why, refined their leadership, and strengthened their commitment to give back. Their stories remind us that leadership isn't just a title, it's a choice. Purpose isn't just a feeling, it's a responsibility. And giving back isn't something that we do, it's a way that we live. And I think you'll find each of these do it every day. Today wouldn't be possible without a few key people that we need to recognize. First, Leo and Lily 𝗨𝗲𝗄, thank you for your servant hearts, for creating the 𝗨𝗲𝗄 Foundation, so the impact that you've always pursued allows others to be part of it and grow. True. And of course, Jack and Margie Turner, our sponsors for the evening. For those of us that are so blessed to get to learn and him mentor us, your wisdom and lifetime of service has been a steady light in this community, and so many of us are honored to be able to carry what we've learned from you forward, so thank you. And finally, General Scott Brower. I know he's gonna hate it, but thank you for taking this initial idea that we talked about and pouring into it to make today happen. That's who you are. You're always leading with purpose. I'm going to go off script for just a minute, try to get through it. If you know General Brower, you know he loves his soldiers. He helps them thrive both during and after service. But I can tell you that his care is well beyond that. It is for his entire community. In 2019, my family walked through a very difficult season. And General Brower very quietly checked in on us, offering support, steady guidance, and just a reminder of how important it is to have the right people around you when you feel weak. He did it without any fanfare. He even went to the nurses that took care of me and gave them a gift, which I only found out after they sent me all these photos of this amazing man that came to just appreciate their work. He didn't do it for recognition. He did it because that's his heart. That is his quiet, selfless service, and that's exactly why we're here tonight, because each of these do it every day. I'll never forget that, so thank you. Our foundation's guiding verse is, "To whom much is given, much is required." Every one of us has something to offer: time, talent, influence, resources, encouragement. There is a cost, and it requires sacrifice, but the impact is real when we choose to show up for others. As you listen tonight, I'd encourage you to think about one question, one that me and General Brower talked about when this whole program came about. What's one tangible way that you can give back starting now? Volunteer, mentor, support a nonprofit, bring your company into the work, which I'm so blessed that Leo and Lily do with our company. And to help make it easy, we're grateful to have several military-focused nonprofits and others here tonight that you can connect with and jump right in. Thank you for joining us. We're grateful for our panelists that are here. And before we jump in, I just want to hand it over to Leo, president of our 𝗨𝗲𝗄 Foundation and CEO of 𝗨𝗲𝗄 Enterprises, to say a few words.
How do you follow that, right? Well, I'm going to be quick because we want to get to you guys, but just want to thank all of you for the support. You know, this is a great military town. Me and my wife are not originally from here. We made this home because of the community. People like Mr. Turner that have taken the time to mentor me and my family. All the great people. I can sit here all day and thank a lot of you, because a lot of you have helped us get to where we are, and we would never have been able to do it without the group that we have, to include our 𝗲𝗊 Enterprises team. I see Mayor Durrett here. He's been a great mentor to me, to help me guide through some of the tough challenges that we have. And I'm going to pass this on to General Brower. We're thankful. She kind of stole a little bit of the thunder, so I just wanted to thank, because he is, to her point, I was going to say he's humble. I have the privilege of knowing some of the warriors of the warriors. You know, the warrior's warrior, if you've ever heard that term. And all of them talk so highly of him when they served, because he cared for his people. And these are the best of the best, and they look up to this guy. So that's who is leading this panel, and he's going to introduce everybody, or however that's going to go. But I just want you to know that with Mr. Turner and General Brower, you're in great hands, and we're all blessed just to be in this room. So thank you all.
All right, we ready to have a little bit of fun today? It's great to have the mic last. So I'm going to clear up a couple things before we get rolling into this. So first, for the 𝗲𝗊 Foundation, for the board members, the 𝗲𝗊 family, the ambassadors, one, I just love, right, Leo's the president of the 𝗲𝗊 Foundation and Lily's the vice president. And am I the only person here that doesn't believe that Leo's in charge of Lily? Or like, right? I'm just going to slide it right on down, right? So now we got the Turners, right? God bless the Turner family and everything that they've done for us in our community. You don't see Margie here today because of the weather and all. Well, listen, they've been trapped in the house together for the last week and a half. Margie's getting a little bit of free time right now, right? There's, God love Jack Turner, right? And God knows I'm not going to say anything ill, because the last time he got upset at me, I spent 14 months in Nashville during the pandemic. So that didn't work out well for me at all. And then the last thing on to Tanya's point on selflessness. Let's be clear. Jen, our daughter, was a student of Tim 𝗨𝗏𝗃 over there. So anything we were doing to help the 𝗨𝗏𝗃 family, I was just trying to get a bump in her grade, right, and make sure she got through class right there. So, but what a wonderful community we have here. And why are we here today? I'll tell you, there's a very specific reason why we're here today, and it's probably, you probably wouldn't understand what it is. Alexis Shaw, one of our analysts right here, her parents live in the same neighborhood that Jen and I live, and we've lived there for 7 years, and I've never met them. Alexis has been in our program, in the Bass Military Scholars Program at Vanderbilt, for the last 2.5 years. She's going to law school. She'll tell you about it and everything. She never introduced me to her parents. So the whole reason we have this event today is just so Jen and I can meet our neighbors. So El Greco and Valerie, I hope we can see and interact with you a little bit at the reception, but thanks for being here today. Okay, those are all my public service announcements. Here we go. All right, so we're here to talk about service. And the panelists today, all veterans of the United States military, so that's the service after the uniform. There's so many different ways to serve in our community, but these individuals all chose a life of service, and it's a very unique thing. And we're going to talk about what happens after, but first I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves quickly and just share where they are, where they served in the military, where they are in life right now. So Hector, we'll go ahead and start with you, sir.
Okay, I served in the military for 34 years before I got parole. I started in Fort Campbell in 1984 as a young infantryman and retired being Inspector General, Military District of Washington, D.C. Deployments worldwide. My wife and my three dogs are not here. But currently I'm a director of the Veteran Service Organization in Montgomery County.
Okay, good afternoon to everyone, and the general said do it quickly, but it's hard for me to do anything quickly, so I'm just going to put that disclaimer out there.
Here go the warrant officers, right? This is the danger of today. Sorry, please, Joe.
But I'm Joe 𝗍𝗃𝗏, and I joined the Army at 17, fresh out of high school. I joined, I had a Boy Scout leader, And he actually made me the assistant scout leader when I was in 11th grade. And he was a Vietnam veteran. So he was always talking about this military and paramilitary and all that stuff. So he kind of really encouraged me to join the military. So when I spoke with the recruiters, and this was in the last century, so when I spoke to the recruiters, we didn't have all this, the internet, right? Because again, it was last century. So I told them I wanted to do something that was very, very hard and something that I can get promoted fast. So he says, well, you want to be an Army Ranger. And I signed me up. So I signed up for it. And I went through all the training and all that stuff like it was nothing, right? Did all that. And then after that, eventually I went to Special Forces. And after the Special Forces qualification course, I came here to Fort Campbell to the 5th Special Forces Group, where I served for 20 years in the same unit. And during that time frame, though, I actually, in every Special Forces Green Beret speaks another language. So I went to school for Arabic, Modern Standard, and I ended up going to DLI, where I not only studied the Modern Standard, but also the Iraqi, the Syrian, and the Egyptian dialects of the language. But then that propelled me to do even more. So that brought me here to Fort Campbell, and being in the unit for 20 years as a quiet professional, I kind of stayed here. So now I'm on the city council, and again, still in a learning environment, because that's what it's about. We're always learning, we're evolving, we're challenging ourselves, and we're always trying to be in a position where we can help someone else. So that's the short story of who I am, and I'll pass the mic.
Hey, just so we're clear, that wasn't a short story, Joe. Okay. All right. Josh, please.
So good afternoon. I'll start by saying I'm probably the least deserving person to be on this panel. I see a lot of my mentors in this room, to include Jerome Brower. So Joshua Birch, I was born and raised right here in the great state of Tennessee. 17 years old, I had a son. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. My grandparents would be surprised if I was even sitting here today. But my grandfather sat me down, shared Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, one man does another. And he encouraged me to join the service, to be around some folks who inspire me to be a better version of me and be the best dad that I could be. So 26 years later, I retired out of 5th Special Forces Group as a Chief Warrant Officer 4. Spent 20 years in 5th Special Forces Group. And, I love the community of Clarksville. It's been home to our family for, since 2000 when we got here. So thank y'all for the opportunity to be here.
Hi everyone, my name's Alexis Shaw. I was an active duty Air Force captain. For about 6 years I worked as an intelligence officer, focused solely on deterring Middle Eastern threats and the growing and evolving Indo-Pacific threats. I was primarily stationed at Travis Air Force Base in California. Did a couple of deployments from there, and then came here to be a Bass Military Scholar, and now I'm a third-year law student at Vanderbilt, and I'll graduate in May and then move to Washington, D.C.
Good afternoon. My name's Gary Linfoot. It's an honor to be here joining y'all tonight, especially on this panel. So I'm an Army guy. I served 23 years in the Army, and I had probably the best job in the Army. I got to fly helicopters on your tax dollar. Thank you very much. 97, my family moved here and served 13 years with the 160th SOAR, flying little birds. After the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, served overseas quite a bit, completed 21 combat rotations, and on that last one in 2008, I was injured in a helicopter crash. After separating from the Army, continued on as a civilian contractor in the flight simulator for about 7 years, and then kind of got into the nonprofit world in 2019. My wife and I and our good friend Bob Hyde, we founded the American Mobility Project, where we provide high-tech mobility equipment, resources, and adaptations to enhance independent living for those with disabilities, and that's currently what I do. I serve as the 2IC of that organization. The boss is sitting in the audience here giving me the eye if I go a little bit too long. But that's where I am now, and it's one of the greatest jobs in the world, honestly.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So, the whole purpose of today is really to just explore and talk about how our service members, when they're done with their life of service in the military, how and where can they fit and what can they benefit for society and our communities moving forward. You know, we're very blessed here in Clarksville, Tennessee, right? Our community, when you look at Army statistics, right? Army installations around the world, when service members separate from those installations, on average, 26% of the service members will stay within X miles of that installation, right? 26%. At Fort Campbell, Kentucky, it's 36%. We have some college professors here, Dr. 𝗨𝗶𝗃, that's a significant number, isn't it? It is, right? There's something special about our community here that makes people want to stay. Every one of these folks, right, is impacting our community right now. So how do we make that even better, right? That's really what we want to try to walk away from today. How can the impact that they create deepen? So the first question I'm going to pose to the panel, and we're going to start at the other end, Gary, we're going to start with you, right? But for everybody, same question for everybody. When you were serving our nation in military uniform, you all had an incredible, strong sense of purpose every day. You cared for your service members, you cared for their families, and you cared for our nation each and every day, right? I doubt you'll ever find a level of purpose that matches that. But as you transitioned out of uniform, how important was it for you to find purpose in your life, and how did you go about doing that? So Gary, we'll start with you.
I was hoping I'd be last on this question. Thank you. No, so, you know, in my case, my separation from the military wasn't a planned event, just circumstances kind of dictated to me and my family what was going to happen next. So trying to figure out what my purpose in life was going to be post-injury, post-separation from the military, and just trying to figure it all out. That was very important. And I won't say I have it all figured out now, and I think if anybody ever tells you they've got it all figured out, they're probably not being very honest with you. But to find a purpose, especially when life's events causes, you know, dramatic change in your life, that's very important. And one of the things that I tried to remember was you get to rewrite or even write your own story. You're the captain of your ship, and there's probably many other colorful sayings that go along with it. But you're in charge of your life, and you get to figure out what's next. You get to write your story, but you got to find what your purpose is and try to figure that out. It may not be what you originally thought you were going to do in life, and it may be totally different. But to find that purpose is so very important. And I think a lot of folks in the military, when they leave that brotherhood, if you would, it's hard to figure out what that purpose is. So it's important that you keep on trying, and you figure things out. You just got to dig in and go for it.
Alexis?
I think for me, when I was considering purpose after transitioning out of the Air Force, I spent a lot of time thinking about what I loved about being an intelligence officer. And I think for me, that was arming myself with the necessary information to brief a decision maker, a military commander, or a politician, and help them to understand why we needed to move people into harm's way, why these millions of dollars of aircraft had to be in position in certain places. And I thought about the cost of that, but also the impact that you have, and also the sobering reality that it comes when those decisions have to be made and people have to live with the cost that there can be negative and adverse effects to people. So I thought about that in connection to the law. Law school, to me, the law is a place where it is the intersection of so many different things, and you have the ability to impact people and systems and processes, and that was something I loved doing in the military as an intelligence officer. So it made sense to me in transitioning that I still wanted to have a similar scope. So I looked at what I did do to figure out what would be a good fit for me after, and thought that the law would be the great fit for me.
Josh?
I'm really going to nail down that I should not have been on this panel. More because selfishly, when I was retiring from the military, I had planned on staring down the barrel of a shotgun, chasing ducks from Canada to Mexico. purpose was not even in my vision, but purpose found me. Just like God has, across my life, put people in my path to disrupt everything that I'm doing. That happened as I was transitioning. And I think it's something that when you're in the uniform, you take for granted. I tell people all the time that, yes, I was required to do things that I did not necessarily love doing while I was in the military. I mean, you have to be a psychopath to enjoy some of the things that we did. But the people around me, the purpose, the greater reason for the actions that I was having to do made everything worth it. Made it worth me leaving my family, made it worth me leaving my kids. And, to think that I was just going to shed that when I left the service, it's not in who we are. I mean, it's all volunteer service. So it's written on our heart to be a part of something bigger than us. And I really needed it more than it needed me, just to see the good in our community, because there is a lot of good.
All right.
2 to 3 minutes.
I need one of his minutes. So I mentioned earlier in my introduction about the language, right? The foreign language skills and training and things like that. My last few years in the 5th Special Forces Group, I was the program director for the foreign language program. So responsible for making sure those 1,200 guys got their annual language training and things like that. So with that, I was at Fort Bragg once for a friend of mine's celebration, and there was a retired chief warrant officer. He was retiring. He was a CW5. And he said, "Hey, Joe, let's go to Chief's retirement ceremony." I didn't know the chief, but I went because I'm a chief, right? So I went, right? So after the ceremony, I went and I spoke to him. I said, "Hey, Chief, can I ask you a question?" I said, "I'm a warrant officer, but I want to ask you a question." He said, "What's the question?" I said, "Well, you're retiring with 27 years in. Why not on an even number, right?" And he says, "That's a good question. No one ever asked me that question." He said, "One thing I learned about being in the military, sometimes it's good to stop when you're on top. It's good to stop while you're winning. That way, when you look back, your times are fun times, fun memories, right?" So he said, he was the Golden Knights pilot. He said, I'm flying for the Golden Knights. No one would ever know me, right? I can walk out right now, and I'm the most marketable I will ever be. And the key word, marketability, kind of stuck with me, right? You got to be marketable. So in 5th Group, again, I was running the foreign language program. And we have in the Special Operations Command at the 4-star level out of Tampa, we have what they call the program managers. They have an annual program where different programs can apply for this. So I had won it for 3 years in a row. And no one had ever won it for 3 years in a row. And I won the Army's Program of the Year in 2009. So with that, I said, I would never be this marketable again. So after I won the fourth time, there at the conference in Tampa, when the 4-star gave me the plaque and all that stuff, I announced to all of these CEOs in the foreign language arena that I'm going to retire. And guess what? Emails start coming in, right? Hey, we love. So I got to thinking, man, this is going to work. Now I just have to market myself. And so the service part, learning, right, seeing where you're at, and then jumping out there, because it's a psychological transition, right? And that's the biggest thing, especially for a lot of the combat guys we see in the Special Forces and the Ranger Regiment. If you do that your entire life and you walk out here, man, you're lost, right? So I figured in 5th Group, I can walk around 5th Group, everyone knows me, right? Hey, Chief. I get out and walk around here, no one says anything to me, right? So psychologically, I'm lost. So I got to figure it out, right? So General Brower always says I have ADD. I got to be doing a whole lot of stuff, right? And that's because you're searching, right? You're searching. Where is it that I need to be? What is going to be most fulfilling for me? And how can I be of value to individuals and institutions and organizations, right? How can you do that? So that's psychological. So that's what it is for me, and that's what drives me. Now I'm going to pass the mic to Hector.
It could also be ADD.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, in my side, I've been 34 years. Somebody told me that turn all my toys in and just leave the gate, have a nice life. Actually, I have a little time to prepare because you heard the urban legends that they can deny you retirement. 32 years of trying to do that, and somebody told me, nice try, keep rolling the dice. Okay, so I was trying to think in what I'm gonna do. By that point, my body was falling apart, going through a lot of things, so I didn't know what I was gonna do with my life. But my mentor once told me that you find what you set your soul on fire and you go after it. and you serve your nation. Not happened until about 20 years later, he told me, I didn't mean in uniform. You serve your nation. You could be the best doctor, the best lawyer, the best student, the best son. Should have told me that 20 years earlier, but okay, we progressed there. So I knew I was going to help my team one way or another. So terminologies changed. Soldiers became veterans. Families became dependents and survival spouses. And the community became a division. Okay, just terminologies changed. And like him, I didn't know exactly how I was going to go there, but one step at a time. You know, we get used to work at this level. You know, and we went out of the Army, and now we are number 1, in my case, 1 of 17. And now I'm here again. Guess what? Time to start grinding again. I started with the USO helping veterans. Moved to 𝗨𝗶𝗶𝗄. Then Upton P abducted me for a minute. And then Major Golding snatched me up. But I knew I was going to serve. I'm going to continue to serve the community and help the people that I know, my people. So was it that easy at the time? Did I see it clearly? I didn't, but I found a way. And that's something that for a lot of us, at the beginning, it's kind of hard, but it's the same attitude that got us where we are today that takes us where we are right now. So,
when we look at our transitioning service members, and you see people, right? I've talked to business leaders that talk about the veterans that job hop. They start in a job, and 6 months later, they're going to another job, and then they're going to another job. And it's a reflection of the fact that while they're in uniform, all they're focused on is their teammates and the mission. My teammates are still going to go overseas into a combat zone. My teammates still have a role in a mission, and I'm going to make sure they're okay to the bitter end, and they don't focus on themselves. And that's what leads to that hopping around. But I'll tell you, as they get into that position in those civilian jobs, on very rare occasions do we see the service member move and change jobs solely based on compensation. Very rarely is that why they move. It will happen for sure, and that's a very valid reason for it to happen. But I'll tell you, more often than not, when we talk to people that are changing jobs, it has nothing to do with the compensation, the money, the amount of time off. It has everything to do with purpose and cultural alignment. Do my values that I had inside the military align with the company that I'm working with? Do I believe in what they're trying to do? Are they trying to do the greater good? There's a reason why with Team 𝗵𝗲 here, Leo as a veteran, had Brett Jackson working here for so long, a former Night Stalker. Todd Sims, the division sergeant major for the 101st and FORSCOM, right, came back here to Clarksville to work with Team 𝗵𝗲. That's why Jeff Truitt, right, an Air Force veteran, is working here. And while we have storm damage in our house and he hears my wife's name on a phone call, grabs it and starts taking care of her right away. Because there's a tremendous amount of purpose that exists here and alignment of values. And so I ask you just to keep that in mind as you're dealing with this population on how you get them, right? How can we get the most out of them to benefit others? Of course, right? I'm not anti-money. I love money. My wife is a very good, community stimulus package. So, right, I'm all for it, right? But what drives these people is purpose. Okay. We're going to start on this side again, Hector. So in the military, right, as we advance through the military, rank and time and service and all, leadership's expected of you. And the military does a phenomenal job, right, of providing us education, right, as we advance in our careers, and leadership is a key component of that. How have you been able to leverage what you learned in the military from a leadership standpoint and apply that to the roles you've been in since you've been out of uniform?
Well, Samuel Scott Schroeder, somebody might know around here, told me that responsibility of leadership is to do more, no less. Okay, and it goes back to terminology. Your squad changed, but you still got your team. You had to develop to create a product. Okay, back in the military days, we trained to hit that objective. Well, you still have that objective now. So, and in my career, it was based in finding the way. Because pretty much my history officers came to me with problems to resolve.
You're welcome.
I'm here for you, sir. Okay, but I mean, that growing up and develop my skills, it got me where I am today, and it got my team where they are today. Funny enough, somebody sent me to, believe it or not, to a leadership course not too long ago. And they're talking about leadership like it's a science. It's not. It's an art form. It's adaptive. It flows. You have to know your team. I learned that with my squad, with my brigade, with my division, because I was the officer major, so ultimately it's my division. Okay? So that's what it got me there. I mean, it's an art form that I was developed during my career, and I can apply it out to my new team. So here we are.
All right, I've learned to be the solution before the problem arises. All right. So you always, this right here is always clicking. What do I need to have available before the guys need it? Before they know they need it? Because eventually they're going to need it. All right. So if I'm providing a foreign language service, I already know I need personnel. I need contracts in place, right? So I need to be talking at the highest level to the contract office to make sure I got what I need to provide it prior to them even knowing they would need it, right? So don't go to the meeting with the problems. Go to the meeting with the solutions or courses of actions, right? When General Brower was an XO at 5th Group, right, and he had every staff officer, he wanted every staff officer to get some Six Sigma training, right? But that's the type of guy he was. Don't show up at this meeting pointing fingers and having problems. You show up at this meeting ready to brief. So you go out there and you find all the different problems out there prior to this. So that same mindset in the community, right? If I'm on the city council, I don't need to wait till the meeting. I need to be driving through the wards, right? I don't need to wait until the electrical storm. I need to drive through the wards. I need to find out who are the old people, where they live at, right? What kind of challenges they're gonna have. So I can be ready to articulate that right prior to the storm, right? I need to go to the board meetings and the committee meetings, right? I need to sit one-on-one with the directors. I need to do all that stuff before the meetings, right? Find out the problems, find out how to be a resource to the people in which you serve. And you do that every day, because every day we're blessed with an opportunity to serve.
Well, I'll say every skill that I use currently was adapted throughout the military because I started off as a high school dropout. So it was only up from there. But I will say that, you know, leveraging genuine relationships, you know, as a service member in Special Forces, you have to build rapport, and you're having to ask people to do things on behalf of your country. And those are built through, you know, they're willing to do that because you're building genuine relationships. So I look at that as one key component that I draw upon. Working in small teams, Special Forces teams, you know, you're asked to do a lot with a little. So the best way to do that is to see who else out there doing other things so that you can use those resources. So collaboration, finding other people who are doing similar things or in similar areas to collaborate together, because your voice becomes, you know, larger when you have a much larger force. And then the last thing I'll say is always being willing to learn. You know, in the military, we use after action reviews. Anytime we do anything, it's almost repetitive to like, what went right, what went wrong, what can we do better next time? And after a little while, you stop worrying about what went right unless it's, we need to sustain that. We want to know how to get better all the time. And I've noticed in the civilian world, it's more of what we did right. So it's like less focus on, you know, the humility aspect of what did we do wrong? How can we get better? Nope, nothing against you as an individual, but how can we get better? So that's one thing I think that continues to help me in my civilian careers. All right,
I'm taking one of my 3 timeouts, first half timeouts right here. So before we go any further, I think Josh hit on something that's incredibly important here, right? And he talked about, he said the word humble, right? And in the military, our soldiers, our service members learn, right? You know, hey, success is the team, the failure is the leaders, right? I'm responsible for the failure. My team accomplished the mission, right? And so that's one of the struggles in transition is I'm not sure of any employer when I go, hey, my team was awesome. Well, then why do I want to hire you, right? Introduce me to your team. They're pretty awesome, right? So we need help from the community and leaders and all, right, to help our service members understand that, Josh has been incredibly humble a couple of times here, right? That's a phenomenal leader that does so much to help others right now. And we need to recognize that, right? But we need to get over that hump of not being able to say, I did this, right? Very hard when we're trying to show what we can do for a company. So sorry for the time out there. We're going to go back. Alexis, you remember the question? Leadership, how did the Air Force train you to lead? How are you using that now? Okay, here we go.
So I've tried to use leadership experiences that I've had by remembering a lot of what's already been stated here, but being anticipatory, I think sometimes in the civilian world, it can be a little bit more reactive. So taking time to be anticipating when you get a task or when you're doing a project or something, what are the most likely problems that could arise and the different constraints that they could come from. But I also think teamwork in the way that in the military, we're very fortunate to work with people from disparate backgrounds. That's not a challenge to us to do that. We don't, get caught up on our various perspectives and differences that we have. And I think using that in the roles that I'm in now to not allow that to happen, that it doesn't matter if we don't agree about various things. We don't have to. We just need to work towards the shared objective that we all have. So helping to reunite people in that way, I think is really important because a team can become isolated and siloed, and that's going to be an obstacle to success. So just making sure that we keep the objective that we have at the forefront, regardless of how we feel about it or the differences that we have, I would say.
For me, my experience in Army Aviation and Special Operations, it was generally focused around small teams and groups. And it was always about the people. We could have all this magnificent equipment, but if it all really hinged on the individual. So it came down to making those personal relationships with people and understanding their strengths and weaknesses as well as my own. And from there, I guess my leadership style was try to set the example. I would never ask someone to do something that I was not willing to do myself. Set the example in that way, and then also recognize the individuals and kind of groom them to be someone strong that you can lean on. And if you were able to surround yourself with really good people, you're always going to have a successful mission. And part of that mission and project management, even on the civilian side, was understanding what you wanted to end with and then kind of back planning from there. But again, for me, it was surrounding myself with good people and giving them the tools that they needed to be successful, to give the little corrections where needed, and also really to learn from people around me. And together we just always made a really great team. And so that's kind of my leadership style, even in the civilian world, doing what we're doing now.
Gary, just as a reminder for me, how many years as a Night Stalker?
13 years.
A Night Stalker would rather
quit or die than quit. I almost reversed that there, didn't I?
I was trying to make a point here, Gary. You got to help me out.
I'm probably going to get a strongly worded letter from
I see it coming.
I gotta be careful.
My point I was trying to make there, when you're part of an organization that's motto is, I would rather die than quit, and the individuals in it really mean that, can you understand the value that they may bring to another organization? Okay. I'm going to mix it up this time, so I'll call on you. So this is a pretty simple one, all right? Simple question, probably a complicated answer, and you may have touched on it. I know some of you have touched on it already, but I want you to dive a little bit deeper in this, okay? Tell us why you're doing what you do now. And Alexis, I'm going to start with you. I know you touched on it a little bit, but you're going to law school right now. You're a little bit different. You're a unicorn here, right? You're not old, right? you were smart enough to get into the Air Force, right? And here you are, right? But you chose the profession of law. Tell me why, right? Why? What do we want to do with that?
I think I chose the profession of law because I genuinely wanted to impact people at a high level. I love the work that I did as an intelligence officer because I love the ability that it gave me to buy in to, I was never a special forces operator like some of the gentlemen I'm accompanied by, but it gave me the ability to buy into their mission, to the value of it, to really lean into so many different paths and why every mission is important, why you have to treat every single training thing or event as serious as like the Super Bowl, for instance. So I think with the law, I saw the same thing. I think if you look around the world, you see so much need. People are going through so many different things, and I saw that the law was a tool. Legislation is real. It can be changed and modified, and there's so many different things that you can do to impact people. So I think for me, it was that. I wanted to use all of the gifts and the talents that I developed through the time in service, and I wanted to use that to impact people who didn't just wear the uniform, people who don't know anything about people who wear the uniform. I wanted to educate them also, but really give back in the way that the Air Force gave back to me. So.
Awesome. Thanks, Alexis. Hector, let's go to you next. Why are you doing it?
When I was Inspector General in Washington, D.C., I inspected transition services for the military. I did it for DOD, and I also did it for the Army. There are gaps. There are massive gaps in information for service members to take it that next step. So that's what would drive me into this one. Okay, and it's a challenge. I ultimately ended doing with working now with disability claims, VA benefits, stuff like that. Because right now, believe it or not, there are organizations in Montgomery County charging veterans $3,000 for doing their claims, or taking 20% of their back pay for something that my team can do better and free. I mean, it has become a passion of me to bring this to light. Because when we transition out of the military, they pretty much give you that slip. You went to SFL tab, you rushed through it because you're trying to get to the gate, didn't have time to think. Nobody explained to you how the VA works. Nobody spent time to you working on your claim, and you're trying to figure that out on your own. So that is why my passion for what I do now. Helping those veterans, get the word out there, meet them where they're at. Because some veterans can come to us, so we will go to them. Okay? Because it's insane to me, charging a veteran, they already pay blood, sweat, and tears, $3,000 to do something they already earned. So.
Hector works for the Montgomery County government here, right? And because of leadership and leaders like Jim Durrett and Wes Golden, they allow him to touch veterans that are outside of Montgomery County. So every year for our program down at Vanderbilt, Hector comes down in the evening after duty hours, right after work hours, and briefs all of my scholars, right, new veterans, to make sure they understand what their benefits are. And then if they needed a special appointment to talk to them further, right, and they call his office up here in Montgomery County and say, hey, I'm a BAS scholar down at Vanderbilt, it goes directly to Hector, and he takes care of them. That's personal involvement that's making a significant difference, right, for people. So thank you for that, Hector. Gary, let's go to you next. Why are you doing it?
So why do I do what I do? Why does my wife do what she does? Going back to my crash in 2008, I was really very fortunate, very, very blessed to be involved with the VA. I know the VA, oftentimes they get a bad rap, but they're a great organization and a lot of caring people trying to do the right thing for people. And I was well taken care of with the equipment that I have that the VA provided. And what the VA couldn't provide or would not provide, there were many nonprofit organizations that stepped into the breach and provided me life-changing equipment that would enabled me to go farther and do things that I thought were gone forever. Things like the chair I'm in now, it's called an iBot, and it does a little bit of everything. It stands me up to a sitting height of 6 feet. It has off-road capability. It goes up and down stairs. Also, I was able to use an exoskeleton as a trial for the VA. I was able to walk both my daughters down the aisle when they got married. I had track chairs. I had a road cycle that I could go exercise. I had all this wonderful equipment. And as my wife and I traveled the country speaking at schools and meeting kids and other individuals, we quickly saw that wasn't the case on the civilian side of the house. And that always really bothered us, that this type of equipment was out of reach for so many people. So over the years, we really wanted to do something about it, and finally in 2019, and instead of talking about it, let's just get out there and do it. Let's start doing it. So we started the organization, American Mobility Project, and we've been able to give out this equipment and change so many lives. And ultimately, it's about giving back. It's about paying it forward. And as I profess to be a Christian, and so if I profess to be a Christian, I have to believe that, like Christ, he didn't come here to be served, but to serve, and that's what we should do. So that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Joe, how about you? Why are you doing it?
All right,
Mr. ADD.
So I want to take it back to my time in 2nd Ranger Battalion. And I remember we had a first sergeant comrade, and he always talked about, it's not the title, right? It's not the medals you wear on your chest, it's what's in your heart. And we need to check our hearts every day, right? Because that guy to your left and that guy to your right is depending on that. So that mindset, I took that mindset with me throughout not just my military career, but even to this day, right? So I don't get caught up on a title or position. I always ask myself, am I giving it my best, right? And not my best for me. Am I giving it my best for those who I serve? Right? So that's one of the things that I learned early on, and that's something that stuck with me until now. And if I can give you anything, that's what I give you. Check your heart every day and ask yourself, are you giving it your best to the audience that which you serve? And that's why I love serving the young people at Austin Peay. I love helping those young guys. I love mentoring those young guys. I love being an active part and playing an active role in Special Forces Association Chapter 38, because they work day and night to provide support for the 5th Special Forces Group. Right? And I love, like I said, being on the city council and then being in the veterans community here in Clarksville. So that's why I'm doing a little bit of everything, because that's where my heart leads me to serve in those levels. Thank you.
I'm taking my second time out. So, right, military coins, we all have them, we all carry them. I got hundreds of them at the house. Grandkids love playing with them, picking them out. I only carry one, and it goes directly to what Joe just said. Right, it was given to me by Command Sergeant Major Veal, one of my dearest friends right now. But it says, for those on my left and my right, right? What they do is not about themselves. It's about caring for their team and their organization and accomplishing a mission that often isn't viewed as accomplishable, right? So I think that's very important. So thanks for that, Joe. Josh, take us home on this one. Why are you doing it?
So raw honesty, I pray regularly and I ask God, I don't take subtle hints very well, so I need doors slammed when they're not supposed to be open. But my wife and I have been married 23 years a week ago, and as I was starting my transition, she started watching all these murder mystery movies and shows, and I'm like, is this a subtle hint, or is this 16 deployments, 8.5 years I'd been home, and I thought I needed to do something with myself. But I've learned so much more about why I'm doing it after being pushed into doing it. I had this bracelet made. I got 14 friends that, have, teammates and friends over the years who have passed away, and I wanted to wear it every day to remind myself, what would they do if they had tomorrow? They would invest in people around them. And I want to remind myself that I am a part of a community, and just like God calls us, to remain in Him so that our love can overflow onto the people around us. I want to remain in Him so that I can continue to make an impact on the community and the people that I love who have helped me get to where I am. So that's why I do what I do.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. All right. Hey, so we're done with the questions for everybody. We're going individual questions now. This is going to be the last round of questions that I'm going to ask, and then we're going to go to y'all and give you a chance. You like how I said that? I'm from New Jersey, but I'm on the y'all now, right? So, right? I do okay. All right. So I got to check with Mayor Dirt there. So, okay. Alexis, I'm starting with you. You ready? All right. So as a Bass Military Scholar, you got a little bit of a unique path as a Bass Scholar because of your service time, right? And we had a delay in you getting to us. Law school is probably not the easiest academic program that I've ever seen. A little bit challenging. Yet you chose to take on a little bit more and become a Bass Military Scholar. And I'll tell you, at Vanderbilt, right, we're given our scholars a service-free stipend. So there's some money going into the pocket, but there's more to that program. And I want to ask you to share, why did you choose to become a Bass Military Scholar while you were going through law school at Vanderbilt?
I chose to become a Bass Military Scholar while applying to Vanderbilt. It was honestly probably what sold me the most on Vanderbilt, was that the program existed. I think one of the benefits you have in service is you have mentors, whether you seek them out or people seek you out, and they want to help you, continue to evolve and mature throughout your career. And just from the website alone, I saw that. And from my interactions with Scott and Aaron, they go above and beyond with everything, whatever you could ask them of, no matter how small the task is, no matter how big it is, they are invested in us. Between the meetings we do, once a semester, and the service activities, you can tell that Scott is invested in me becoming the best attorney, while also remaining the best Alexis, the best daughter that I can be during this process. So that's why I wanted to take on the extra challenge, because it didn't feel like a challenge. It felt like me being able to give back so much of what the program itself has given to me, but also so much of what the Air Force gave to me by being able to serve my fellow students, being able to dispel myths about military members themselves, since there's very few walking the halls of Vanderbilt Law School. So I just saw it all as an opportunity to continue the evolution of service after the uniform.
So you didn't hear her say, well, the money was nice. It was all about the purpose and the impact, right? The scholars owe 2 service activities to share their military experience each semester, but almost every one of them does so many more than 2. And then they're doing other things, right, to impact others. Or how many times, Alexis, have I reached out, hey, can you talk to an applicant to help them understand the process? Probably 8, 9 times, right? Yep, give it to me, Scott, I got it. Right? They're always looking to invest and do more and give back. And that sense of purpose, I think, is just incredible. So, Alexis, thank you for the answer, but thank you for being a great scholar for us. Hector, you're up. You ready? Several different jobs since retirement. You've been in this position now for a couple of years. I believe it's probably not the easiest job you've ever had. I think there's probably an emotional toll that comes with this, and an investment, right? Because you're dealing with people that are maybe struggling or need some help, right? And haven't gotten what they need, or maybe in a difficult place. And that toll, right, adds up on you, your teammates and all. Why do you continue to do that?
This is going to be hard. We take care of brothers and sisters. That's what we do. Some days are great, some days are hard. One story. I'm going to give you 2. Spouse, Vietnam survival. Okay, we've been fighting her claim for almost 10 years. She gets a $247,000 back pay. Great day in the office. We high-five on the ramp. We figured out how we can get her to the bank, because that's the thing she wanted. Great day. My worst day so far. I'm working in Eastern Claim, 2 young kids, 25 years old. 7 days later, I'm working in his death claim. He lost his battle with PTSD. His family only want to deal with me and with me alone. So that was not a good day, but I had an amazing team. We support each other. God sometimes give me the strength. My wife helped me through it. And sometimes she would tell me, you want a glass of bourbon? Waiting at the counter. By the way, I don't support drinking. I'm supporting the local economy. I mean, some people out there, they need jobs, okay? But it's something that when I took the job, several people asked me, are you sure about this? You know, my doctor was like, are you sure we're going to do this? My wife, and ultimately my son, well, here we go. It's a need for what I do. And the veterans, surviving spouses, they understand coming from somebody that been there. Sometimes hard, because I survived, and some of them didn't. And I see across the desk where I'm going to be at some point. Presumptive conditions are killing us faster than suicide. They're real. A lot of us already got the markers. We're just waiting now. Okay? So I see that. We go to a veterans home, and we see the old veterans that had nobody to talk to. And we got one that tried to become my wife. Talked to him for about 45 minutes. And I met a veteran that he flew in the Asia Valley. He flew helicopters in Asia. Then they had to rescue me because I just want to hear his stories. Okay? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love my job. But sometimes hurts. But I got a great team, support my family, and God helping me through it.
Hey, thank you for that. I'm taking my last time out of the half. One thing that the veteran community is not awesome at doing is asking for help. So the fact that Hector's able to impact so many people and his office is able to impact people is based on establishing a relationship and a level of trust. And that takes investment. So Hector, thank you for doing that for our community because you're making a huge difference for a lot of people right now. So thank you, and to your team. All right, Josh, you're up. All right, tons of time in 5th group, right? You were scared of traveling outside of Tennessee. You grew up here, served here your whole life. You had a plan, right, to transition out. You screwed that up tremendously, right? Didn't do anything you said you were going to do. 5th group's got a pivot program, right? It's in addition to what the Army requires as far as a transition program. We've talked about the why, but you, I think, epitomize somebody that ties efforts together, right? There's so many efforts out there. There's too many nonprofits all replicating things. Service members aren't sure where to go, so you work for the National Chamber of Commerce, you work for the Honor Foundation, you're the vice president of Chapter 38. You just told me you took another job that you're not taking money for and you're giving it back to the Honor Foundation. You're involved in so many things, but can you just tell us the value and the importance of the synchronization and pulling people together to kind of accomplish these, the better for all? You've done such a good job with that. Can you just kind of share a little on that?
Well, it started
in 2 minutes or less.
Yep. Okay. You're putting the pressure on me. It started with, I've always said, like if you want people to innovate, give them less resources. You start throwing money at problems, they don't innovate. They look at what they can buy off the shelf. Well, when a retired general doesn't have a staff and he's got a staff of one and he starts trying to put him to work, well, you got to figure out ways to innovate. So it started with a vision, and Chris, Scott, Ralph Schultz at the time, Congressman Matt Van Epps, we were all down at an operations stand down there back there. We were all down at the state capitol trying to figure out how do we retain, return, and attract veteran talent to the state of Tennessee. Am I at 2 minutes yet? Because I still got a ways to go.
Keep going. You have 7 seconds left. Keep going.
But it started with a vision, and with that vision, we can look at lines of effort. How do we get there? And then we look at the current state. Who's already doing what? And then we start trying to, pull people in, get some collaboration, because we're all here to do the same thing. we're all here to help veterans. So why work against each other? And, the last thing I'll say is it was just, part of, trying to have that sense of community. Leo, at the last 𝗦𝗶𝗶𝗃𝗏𝗃 Foundation dinner, he asked, who are the future Jack Turners in the room? Well, it's everybody in this room. The people who care, the people who have to pick up the torch and keep going to make progress in our community.
Awesome, thanks. Hey, I can't deal with more than one Jack Turner, though, right? Like there's a lot of risk associated with that.
It takes all of us to equal a Jack Turner.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That I would agree with there. Okay. Hey, Gary, last one, and then we're going to questions from the audience here. And I saved this one for last. Your transition was different than everybody else's here. And you explained some of the why. But the work that you and Mary and God bless Bob Hyde, who we lost a couple of years ago, the work you're doing is just phenomenal. You talked about the calling, but tell us, how in the heck did you put it together? How did you pull the pieces together of what you all are doing right now? Because it's unbelievable work.
It started with taking some sort of action. We saw a need right here locally in Clarksville. There was a young girl who was paralyzed in a terrible accident caused by a drunk driver, and we wanted to get her some equipment that we thought would be very useful for her going through high school and into college. And so it just took that initial action to get things going. And then the success was almost accidental. We had some missteps, we had some success, and when we did our first fundraiser to raise money for this piece of expensive equipment, COVID hit. And so we thought we were doomed, but we went ahead and we raised the money. And all along we thought if we just raised enough money to buy this one piece of equipment for this one individual, and we were one and done, we would call it a success and be happy with it. But as long as we had support, we would just keep it going. And we've kept it going, and it's grown larger and larger each year. And it's amazing, and it's very rewarding, and to see the local community step up to the plate and take a swing and go for it, and just knocking it out of the park. And I've got some stats here. I just got these this morning. I don't have them all memorized, but since that first fundraiser in 2020, we've had 83 grants, $2.3 million raised, 83 grants. Over $1.9 million to the equipment, 93 families served, 46 iBots, these are this chair right here, 19 all-terrain chairs or adaptive cycles, 6 track chairs, and just a multitude of other projects that have gone in there. And it's just been incredible. And at risk of sounding like I'm hijacking the thread, we just happen to have our 7th annual fundraiser coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So if you're available, we'd love to have you come out and join us on the 24th of February, 6 to 8 p.m. at the 𝗦𝗶𝗶𝗃𝗏𝗃 Event Center. And come out here, be a part of something big, and come out here and change some lives. You'll never regret it, and you're going to have a wonderful time. You're going to feel good, and you're actually going to see and hear from people that have received this equipment. You could hear from them firsthand what it means to them and what they're doing with this. So I hope if you are available, you can come out and join us. And if you can't, tell your friends, get on out there. It's going to be a good time.
It's an awesome event. Hydrate well before it, because you're going to tear up. I promise you, I do every year. It's amazing what they're doing. But if you want to feel good about the impact that somebody's making, what Gary and Mary are doing is just unbelievable work. All right. Hey, those are the questions right there. I want to go to the audience here for a couple minutes, see if we have any questions out there from you all for the team here. So anybody? Yes, sir.
Hey, so
State your name. Who are you? Where are you from, please, sir?
Todd Sims. I live right here in Clarksville, Tennessee. The only place I was ever stationed twice. And because of people like Jack Turner, Jim Durrett, Jeff, there's others in this room, and the reason why myself and my wife came back to Clarksville, Tennessee, and call it home. So all the time, you got a lot of folks hit on it up there. I've actually called Josh, and we sat down and had coffee and talked about some programs, things that I'm passionate about. Hector, you talked about SFL TAP, Mrs. DeMark for Sergeant Major Battalion level Sims that's getting out of the Army. Mrs. DeMark for Lieutenant Colonel so-and-so that's getting out of the Army. This is the greatest community that, I've been stationed 14 different locations. And everything always brought me back to Clarksville because of this community. I think about, as a veteran, how many veterans there are in this community. How can we help make that better for the people that don't have the ability to use the Honors Foundation, Operation Stand Down, etc., and so forth? I'd just like to ask that question, and I'd be a part of the person that wants to help too.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody? Josh, you want to start that one?
I will start that one. It all starts with just willingness to have a conversation. Our programs are all around helping people make an informed decision. I mean, even like I tell our fellows that come through our program, I wish I'd have went through it before my kids went to college, because, my daughter went to college. She thought she wanted to do something. She never talked to anybody that did that. And, she lost interest in it. So being willing to have a cup of coffee with someone or a phone call to share what you do, explain your title. I'm a senior director of people. I don't direct anyone. It's like, doesn't make any sense to me, but that's my title. Civilian titles are just as confusing. But yeah, so that's where it starts. TAP does miss the mark. I mean, I think about it, it took years to turn us into what we were as a soldier, AIT, basic, additional training. We need to have that on the reverse end. And I'll say more than anything, it's important because, purpose matters. Being able to provide for your family matters. We want to end veteran suicide. If they have a reason to get up every day, they have a job, they can provide for their families, they feel good about themselves, that takes a lot of the stress off of the transition. And then hire a spouse, because if the spouse is hired and they're working here, then it eases the transition, because then you have some sort of a steady income to ease that burden. Sorry.
It's interesting that you brought up spouses, because we're hoping, if you got anything out of this, that this is not going to be the last time we do this. And we've talked about, this is a little teaser for you. We've talked about having another panel with military spouses in the future to tell you exactly how awesome those people are too. All right, so little teaser. Hector, please.
I would like to say, I will not be humble in this one. My team will rank number 1 in the state of 95 counties. And they asked me in the last conference, why we rank number 1? And I say, because I have one of these. And what do I mean? Because I live in a community that I can grab the phone and I call people and I get help. Okay? Compared to the other counties that have more balance than we do and not doing half. So if you want to help me, spread the word around of our organization. Okay? We're here to help the veteran. If you have an organization, you got a company, think about it. You can give that veteran time off, or you can call me and I go to your conference room and I do the claim in your conference room. I don't use a copy machine or scanner. I bring my own. Okay? And you keep your worker with you, no loss of time. Just give me 30 minutes with me. Okay? If you got an organization, you want me to do claims on there, call me. I will be there. Spread the word about what we can do for them. Veterans need to stop paying for this. It breaks my heart, because I see it when I had to fix what they paid $3,000 for. Okay? It's not right. But I still get veterans that come to my office. I didn't know you guys assisted. I'm like, obviously, I'm not doing enough. If you think about Montgomery County, we got 317 veterans, plus or minus none. The survivor spouses, the dependents. It's a lot of people that we can be helping. Right now, I got records in 31,000 of them. I would love to get to 35 next year. Okay, it's my goal. We need to help the veterans where they at. If they can come to my office, call me. I will be there. I know somebody sent me an email the other day. Veterans taken care of now. Okay? That's what you can do for me. You spread the word. I know some business cards downstairs and some postcards to help them out. Montgomery County website, BSO, got a lot of resources for the veterans. Okay? I'm not talking about our organization. It will have the address, the phone number, the name if I have it, of the organization that can provide all kinds of resources, okay, for the veterans. And a quick link so you can get an appointment with my office. Okay, we can do this by phone, we can do it virtual. He can tell you, I drive to Vanderbilt if I have to, and I do at least twice a year, for sure, because I meet the veterans where they at. Please help me spread the word. Okay, I have an amazing team, and they're busy, not busy enough. They're gonna hate this one. But if you think about it, some organizations only help 2 veterans a day. We see 6 each of my ABSOs right now seeing veterans. Okay? We're here for you guys. Spread the word, please.
You sat next to Joe for so long, you've caught the disease. You can't do it in 2 minutes anymore either, huh? Hey, based on time, let's take one more question, and then we're going to move to the reception where you can interact with these folks and all. So, Chris, go ahead, please.
Chris Lance, I'm president of Night Stalk Association, so you may get the letter from us. But so we've heard a lot today about calling, about purpose. Sir, you talked about the left and right on the coin from Mario. But one thing, I'm another one of the veterans who my family chose to make Montgomery County our home, right? But it's because this county made us feel like we belonged. So what I'd love to hear is a little bit of from any of you, the importance of a community, of a culture of where you work that makes you feel like you belong in that place. Because I think that's something, when we take off our uniform, most of us feel like we lose. And that's part of that job hopping, is we're trying to find that again. So I'd love to hear from any of you, just kind of like your thoughts on why that sense of belonging is so important to us to make us feel like we're valued in that place.
I would love to address that. And I think that's a very great question. For me, and I tell myself, why do I walk the walk, right? So if I'm going to walk this walk so other people can see me, they can talk to me, I can talk to them. So I have to be engaged. I can't go and just sit, right, and just rest on yesterday. I have to be an active participant in the community. And all of us, that's why we're here. We're all active participants in the community. So all of us, we have a role to play, right? But we have to ask ourselves, what is that role, right? And we have to be doing something, and we have to go to where they are. Right? Whoever they are, we have to go to where they are, right? The audience in which we want to influence, because we have that capability, we have that opportunity. So great question.
I will tell you that, that this community is amazing and sometimes impact people that you won't think will impact. And we're retiring and we're talking about where we're going. And my son was 14 at the time. We're talking about where, because the family have a boat now. And my son with 𝗨𝗶𝗶𝗃, Dad, we have to go back to our people. He probably were they different, but referred to back home. He was born here. This is what he thought it was home. I came here for nothing. I mean, I had nothing. And really, you made me feel like I was home. Don't get me fooled my accent now. I'm Tennessean now. Don't let my accent fool you. I call you Tennessee now.
So culture is one thing that I'm really passionate about. Phase 1 of the Honor Foundation and Vector Accelerator program is identifying your preferences, you and your spouse. We say there's 5 things that everybody wants in a career. Love what you do, love the people you work with, make good money, work reasonable hours, and live where you want to live. You'll never get all 5. You have to pick 3 that are most important to you and your family, and 2 you can't live without. Loving the people you work with is always in that top 2 or 3. And they don't know why, but it's always in that top 2 or 3. And I relate it back to, you don't always love running through muddy trenches at night with nods that are fogged up, trying to find a bad guy, but you love the people you're doing it with. And being able to see and take our fellows to businesses, there's a reason we always stop at 𝗵𝗲𝗄. the culture here is amazing. I mean, it's like a bunch of misfit toys that someone put together, and it just works. I mean, because everyone fits within the culture. And they see that. Everyone that leaves this, like, I'm getting a job here. I'm like, well, sorry, they don't have that. They don't have that many jobs right now. But I just want them to see that. And you see it at a Chick-fil-A. I mean, either that or they're cloning 16-year-olds that just have a smile on their face and want to greet you. You go right across the street, it's not the same. So there is something about, and our fellows see that. It's like, we think we want to do something cool, that has a neat title or a neat, brand associated with it, but we're drawn to places that have culture.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Anybody else?
I can remember in '96 when I assessed for the 160th, telling my wife, hey, I'm going to go to a place, I'm going to train every night, I'm going to be gone most of the time, and I'm going to go to crazy places and get shot at. What do you think? Are you in? But we get to put down some roots in the community, and our family gets to be in the same place, make friends, make those connections with the community, and it can be home. That was the selling point that got us here, and that's what kept us here was those. We were able to put down roots and grow and thrive in this community. And you go outside of Clarksville, and you really see it when you hear that stat that only like 1% serve in the military. I don't know what the stats are here in Montgomery County and Clarksville, but it's more than 1%, right? And so it's good to have that feeling where people are. It's in their blood. They're brought up the same, and we all have the same goals. And that's why we stayed here, and that's why we made it our home.
All right, so here we go off script. I thought we were done. I said one more question, right? Then the judge goes, no, I'm going to ask one more question. And since that could affect my future, we're going to allow that. So Judge Goebel, sir, a question, please.
I do not have a question. I have a statement.
Here we go. We're really going off script now.
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
You're the one that said you were just eye candy when I asked about how to get it.
I am Jen's eye candy, yes.
So I'm an Army brat, but I've lived in this community for 50 years. And I will tell you that our community could not be what it is without people like these folks here, like Ed Moss, like Scott, like other people around the room. We just couldn't be there, and I think Jim Dewar would echo that sentiment. So thank you to the veterans that make our community what it is.
All right, now we're really going to go off script. Leo's going to close us out, but I'm going to a couple of administrative announcements. I'm going to hand it to you, and we're going to be. Is that fair? So one, thank you to Leo and Lily and the Meon Foundation for putting this together. We hope you all got something out of this. When we're done and we go downstairs, the reception downstairs, we have multiple organizations here that are all trying to do something to make our community better. The Honor Foundation is represented here. Austin Peay State University's alumni chapter, the Bass Military Scholars Program, the Cohen Veterans Network, Montgomery County Veterans Coalition, Operation Stand Down, American Mobility Project. Right, they're all down there. Hey, go and talk to one of them today, right? Get out of your comfort zone, talk to somebody you haven't spoken to before, and learn a little bit about the people that are making an impact and how you can possibly join them in helping. The last thing I'm going to leave you with before I hand it to Leo is I just want to share something from 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃. Gary was a 5th Special Forces Group NCO during Vietnam, Medal of Honor recipient, passed away a couple of years ago. We had Gary in the community a couple of times. Gary had an ungodly, difficult transition coming out of Vietnam. Went and lived in a cave, in a sleeping bag for a period of time. The Army sent an NCO to the post office because they knew he checked his mail occasionally. They found Grizzly Adams there, asked him if he could shave, take a shower, come down to the White House and get the Medal of Honor presented to him. Eventually came back to society, re-entered it, was an educator his whole life, and made a huge impact on people, mostly on our children. And when Gary spoke to us here in the community several years ago, he said something that I think is just so profound. And he talked about, would you rather have a life of success or a life of significance? I'd ask each of you to just keep that in mind as you kind of move forward and move on from today. And how, right, I mean, I want to be successful, but, you know, if we can be significant, that to me means we're impacting others and making the world a better place and our community a better place. And if each one of us leans in a little bit, boy, we'll have even more of us staying right here in Montgomery County, because what a wonderful place this is to be. So to Lily and Leo, thank you so much for allowing us to be here. Thanks for letting me be part of this. And Leo, I'm going to hand it over to you, and then we're going to go have some fun.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to recognize Congressman Van Epps. Where's he at? He flew in today. Didn't have to be here. He already won. So I just wanted to... That's why it was important to have a veteran win, and you guys stepped up. So thank you, sir, for being here. Let's go.
All right, let's go, folks. Upstairs.